Snowball. Yes. Yes, good evening everyone. Welcome to Lazy Mini Painting. Sorry about that. Audio issues. Without... I've got to turn headphone down, otherwise the microphone picks it up. And I've got to sort my phone out, otherwise I can't see portrait mode. It is Combat Patrol Day. I know I'm usually do it first thing in the morning. I've not been too great today regarding my lockups and things, so I've put it back till now. I should be alright. I've only had 2 or 3 today. Three. So I'm doing okay. I'm just going to try and get to realise that I can join my own stream, which does help. So we have Combat Patrol and a lot of World Eater still on the desk. So we'll do the noise a bit first. Good evening, folks. Good evening. Get the magazine out, which is issue 62 this week. Nice big Tyranid on the front. And we get 2 paints. We get Caliban Green, which is quite a nice dark green actually. Pop that there for a second. And we also get Wild Rider Red, which is a nice mid-tone for when you're coming up through the Khorne and through Mephiston, and then Wild Rider's slightly more of the orangey tints to it. It's still a nice colour. Good evening, Buzzard. Good evening. I'm assuming I've timed it for mealtime as per usual. Sorry, Twisted. Yeah, Twisted. I said Twisted. Yeah, mealtimes as usual. So, as I've noticed when we get these magazines and they give us paints, they then tell us to go back and do all the things that we're now going to have to do with those paints. So expect to get out your Eldari to be doing armour layers with Wild Rider Red along the vehicles and the troops, and the cloak on the Farseer. And anything else that would be that colour red that you had painted initially, you're going to edge highlight with Wild Rider Red across all of that. You're also going to do Space Marines as well, so you're going to have Wild Rider Red to highlight the capes, the sergeant's helmet, the eyes, the red beacons, any red wires, hafts and bolters. With Caliban Green, they're telling you to do the sergeant's lenses, then use Auric Flesh to give them the really bright glint. Good evening, Graham. Good evening. So it's lots and lots and lots of little stuff. Good evening. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Yes. Hello and thank you for coming in. If you can put a phonetic how to say your name, that'll really help out, because I'm useless. So while essentially it's lots and lots of edge highlighting for pretty much every army that you've had so far, including the Votann, the Gene Stealers. In the case of the Gene Stealers, you're also coming back over with a bit of Wraithbone as well, just to Wraithbone highlight some of the fleshier sections. But again, I'm using a lot of Wild Rider Red pretty much everywhere you have used red. Blake, what is up, homie? I hope you're good. I hope you're good. So when they give you 2 paints, they expect you to get out pretty much every model you have done so far to highlight and apply said new paints. For instance, the Wild Rider Red will be used to highlight the cape on the new Magus that we got last week for the Gene Stealer cults. It's also going to be used a lot on the guns for the Barbgons, which you've got 5 of, remember? And that's not to mention all the other ones he's just gone through, like all your Eldar and everything else. Other than that, most of this issue is going to be reading, I believe. Yeah, we have Path to Ascension, Heavy Vehicles, and Enmity of Hope. And then there are 2 campaign missions, both versus the Leagues of Photon. So, Path to Ascension first of all. Once a Genestealer Patriarch has established a cult on a host world, it may take generations for its dark purpose to come to fruition. During this time, cultists will prepare for the day of Ascension, when their alien gods will finally reveal themselves and descend upon the world. If you've got any old spare parts and boxes that you don't intend to use, like, by all means package them in, but no, the car's the main thing, so I can try and get the colour right and then get it running right through the airbrush. The car is the main thing. You get that out to me and I'll get that painted up. But any spare parts you want to stick in, as long as you're not bothered about getting them back, feel free. Good evening, Lee. Good evening. You working on the next car kit? No worries. We was reading Path to Ascension. Although every cult is different, its beliefs and practices informed by the world by which it is formed. Each will pass through similar stages of development. Initially, the cult will operate in secret as the Patriarch infects the population and spreads its influence. As the cult grows, it will work to establish a power base that it can use to prepare for the arrival of the cult's alien gods. Later, as the High Fleet draws near, the Patriarchs will lead the cult in violent revolution, destabilizing Imperial rule and leaving the planet vulnerable to Tyranid invasion. That's not good. The approach of the Tyranids also triggers dormant genes within their cult's population, giving rise to specialized bioforms designed specifically for war. These may be psychic abominations or warrior organisms with crushing pincers, sinuous whips, or scything blades for limbs. Such hybrids are utterly alien in appearance, and their presence would have put the cult at risk during the earlier stages of its development. As such, the birth of these creatures is seen as a great blessing by the cult, for it is a sign that the Ascension draws near. And it has actually got a picture of some weird little brainy dude. Specialist bioforms such as the psychic Benefactors are born in the years leading up to the High Fleet's arrival, adding their might to the cult. So, yeah, essentially really swollen brain with Tyranid plates on it. Does not look right. Does not look right at all. You're in both, Lee. You're in both. Thank you. Infection and infiltration. In the early stages of the cult, operatives seek to undermine their host society through stealth and subterfuge, leaving it vulnerable to later attacks. The cult will endeavour to place its agents into imperial institutions, through which they will be able to exert influence over society or simply gather information. Bureaucratic offices, financial organisation, military forces, and the political establishments are all targets. The first to infiltrate these organisations are usually human, those individuals infected by the Patriarch and brought under its will. Oh, that's awesome, Graham. So you're selling dice and you've never managed to put them up on the website yet. Those black ones do look pretty impressive, I've got to say. I prefer them to the desert ones. Yeah, the black ones are nice. Insurrection. So the next section. Okay. After generations of preparation, the cult will begin a concerted effort against the Imperial rule. Genestealer cult specialists in guerrilla warfare, where their lack of numbers and heavy armaments are compensated for. Key installations are leveled by hidden explosives, communication networks are silenced, and defending troops are caught in ambushes and devastating hit-and-run attacks. The brood mines allows cult forces to coordinate these efforts with uncanny precision, forcing the foe to fight on multiple fronts. As the enemy prepares its defense, it may find itself betrayed by key personnel whose true loyalties lie with the cult. And finally, the invasion. The day that has been foretold arrives, and the long-awaited Star Children descend. Destabilized from within by the cultist activity, the world lies vulnerable to invasion by the warrior organisms of the Hive Fleet. Whether or not the cultist insurrection has succeeded in wresting control of the planet is immaterial, but the Tyranids have come for only to consume. As the hive mind reasserts itself over the Patriarch, the brood mind that bound the cultists is severed. Freed of alien influence, they realize the horror and true nature of what they have unleashed. But it is too late. They, like everything else on their world, are nothing more than biomass. Food for uncaring alien monstrosities. Oh, it is a lovely setting, this, isn't it? So on from that nice little bit of kind of scene setting, I'm going to learn about heavy vehicles. Mighty war machines advance across no man's land, conveyed by steel tracks, grav engines, or other more esoteric means of propulsion, their powerful weapons blasting all asunder. Every species in the galaxy makes use of armoured vehicles and battle tanks to make war. The exact nature and design of these vehicles will vary depending on the technology employed by each civilization and its preferred methods of waging war. Some are lumbering behemoths, protected by thick slab-like armour, while others are graceful skimmers that use advanced hover fields to keep them from harm. However, all share one common purpose: to bring devastating weaponry to bear on the enemy. Yep. That is pretty much what a tank should do. And the example they're going to give us here is the Rogel Dawn battle tank, which is this big beastie boy here. I think you do get one if you're getting one with the premium editions. You lucky people. The Rogel Dawn is a mobile bastion that is used by the Astra Militarum armies to anchor their battle lines or to spearhead armoured assaults. Small arms fire rattles ineffectively against its armoured hull as it advances across the battlefield, while its own formidable weaponry blows apart enemy vehicles and fortifications or shreds swathes of infantry like chaff. Yeah, it's just bristling with guns. It's like having two Lehman Russes but only getting one cannon. It's fairly chunky. Oh, it's going to give us a couple actually. It's going to give us an example for Chaos. In this case, it is the Chaos Predator. With the ability to be fitted with a variety of armaments, the Predator is a versatile tank that can be used in anti-personnel or anti-vehicle hunting roles. It is often employed to support the infantry assaults the Space Marines are famed for. Long years of service in the Dark Gods have corrupted many Predators, and demonic entities inhabit the hulls of some tank, directing them with malign intelligence and enhancing their resilience with supernatural power. So, possessed ones. Space Marines are now moving all over to the Primaris and the Repulsor technology, since the Primaris wave income. So in this case, they're getting the Repulsors. The Repulsor is a new innovation that has only recently seen action in the battlefields of the 41st millennium. Created by Archmagus Dominius Belisarius Call. I really wish they sort these names out. This mighty battle tank has been deployed in the Indomitus Crusade in great numbers, where it provides devastating fire support for the Space Marines. Unlike conventional tanks, it is held aloft by powerful gravity arrays, allowing it to glide over even the roughest terrain with ease. And finally, the one that I'm trying to make, but I'm going to make it with a Triceratops instead of a chassis. Eldar fire prisms. Equipped with advanced grav technology, the fire prism is a highly mobile fire support platform. Its primary armament is a dreaded prism cannon, a powerful laser cannon that can melt through hulls, melt through the hulls of even the most heavily armoured tanks. Fire prisms provide vital support for the Craftworld armies, blasting apart enemy vehicles and fortifications that the light infantry that forms the bulk of their forces would struggle to deal with. So that's the heavy vehicle section. What's the next read section? Is it a story? It isn't. It's a Pharaoh story as well. Enmity of Hope. A metallic clang reverberated throughout the narrow chamber, followed by a slow, protracted hiss as the pressure in the boarding umbilical equalized with that of the vessel on the other side of the hatch. The ship's sensors indicate the life support systems are still operating over there, so we should have atmosphere, reported Nihilus. But given that what I've heard about these things, you probably don't want to breathe the air. It could be contaminated, standing quadrantine fatigue supply. Devon checked the pressure seals on his suit as she said this. He'd heard about the various contaminants found aboard shipwrecks, and he didn't fancy a case of Gellerpox. So you mean something could be alive over there, Chief? Sensor augers have not detected any life signs, she said, then added, but be alert. Yes, of course you can, but Rebecca. Hello. Welcome in. No worries, I'll just, everyone's got to be alert. Yeah, of course you can ask a question. And no worries, but you go back to work, you don't want to get fired over me. No. The Enmity of Hope, used Devon. Cheerful name. I've heard about space hulks. They say those things are haunted. Who knows what Emperor-forsaken creatures infest that thing? Uttered Tolgard, the salvage team's mechanic. Yeah? Well, I've also heard about the riches that can be found aboard one of these things, replied Erickson. Salvage, archaeotech, even STC files. There was this old sailor on Cyrus Station who... Okay, cut the comms chatter, ordered Nihilus. Let's just get in and get out before anyone else notices it here. As soon as word gets out, everyone will want a piece of it. And I don't fancy being here when the Adeptus Mechanicus arrive. The light in the airlock flashed from red to green, and the hatch slid open slowly with an unpleasant squeal of metal on metal. The other side of the hatch was illuminated, only by the dim glow of emergency lighting, although many of the lumen strips flickered on and off, or were entirely dead. Stab lights built into crew's helmets pierced gloom and cast deep shadows where their probing beams fell. The floor sloped down to one side, and the bulkheads leaned at odd angles or bowed in the middle. Everything was bent or distorted, but this part of the vessel seemed largely intact. Take a small pause for a second. Rebecca Blake thinks I'm looking for a second armies between Tau Guard and Knights, but I like the look of all of them. What do you think? First army's Death Guard. Yeah, you are painting a Space Bears army at the moment, and they're nice. But I'm not, because keen on the red. I prefer painting blue. I got rid of my Death Guard, but I've got World Eaters. I've got Guard. I've not got Tau. If I was gonna go Tau, it'll be mostly battle suits. It would have to be with Guard. I don't mind going a bit of infantry, and then tanks. I've got a Baneblade and 7 Leman Russes, and then infantry. So yeah, my vote. Praise the Emperor. Go for the Guard. Nobody likes Tau. You don't do close combat. But yeah, my vote is for go for the Guard. As much as it counts as anyone else's votes, please, anyone else with a comment, jump in. Oh dear, I've lost my place. Where was I? Oh yeah. But this part of the vessel seemed largely intact. That's where it was. The crew stepped out into the rusted decking, their footsteps echoing through the passageway. Baroque architecture and arched bulkheads confirmed what external scans had suggested, that the derelict ship that formed this part of the hull was imperial in design. Well, Delvin thought, at least that should make finding our way around a little easier. Looks like an old cargo hauler, Fox Tolkad, the crew's mechanic, over the closed comms net. Perhaps we'll be able to salvage a gravimetric stabilizer from this wreck. Ours is acting up. A new water recycler would be welcome too, chimed in Devin. It would be nice to drink something that doesn't taste like it was filtered through one of Ericsson's old socks. Hey! Devin brushed aside a tangled mess of wires and cables that dangled from a huge rent in the ceiling as he moved further into the ship. His helmet light swept back and forth across the room, causing the shadows to lengthen and withdraw with their movement. His fingers tightened around the grip of his combat shotgun as he advanced into the gloom. Aside from their own footsteps, the only sound that could be heard was the rattling and clanking of pipes and the occasional creak of tortured metal. "Are you sure this thing's stable?" he voxed. "Sure as we can be," came Nihilus's less than reassuring response. "Come on." There's lots of pages for this. Stories aren't usually this long, and I don't usually choose to read them, but the one I choose to read is longer than usual. Hurrah! The crew made their way through the twisted passageways of the Embassy of Hope. Broken machinery, falling ceiling panels, and other detritus littered across the area and impeded their progress. Layers of rust and grime coated everything. Oily stains ran down the walls. In places, a thick slime had eaten away at consoles. Something crunched beneath Devin's boot, and he looked down. He had trodden on some kind of organic growth. Thick black ichor oozed from its shattered shell. There were more of them throughout the wreck, their serrated forms curving up from the decking or protruding from bulkheads. Devin shuddered, then scraped his boot on the deck plate. He tried to avoid getting too close to any of the others. Beneath his suit, the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. He had a strange feeling they were being watched. Jumping at shadows, he chastised himself. Anyone would think he were new at this. They passed docking bays, plasma generators and crew quarters, but none of them contained anything of value. After some time, they came upon a hatch, choked with debris. Devin heaved a smashed console aside and tried the airlock behind it, but it wouldn't budge. Tolkad joined him, and together they tried to turn the lock wheel, but it was stuck. Stand aside, said Erickson, unshouldering a battered laser cutter. The powerfully built man handled the bulky equipment with ease, bracing himself. He flicked the activation switch and then pulled the trigger. The aged device sputtered and then whined into life, an incandescent beam lancing out of its focusing lens and searing into the hatch. Sparks flared from the door's surface, and globules of molten metal fell sizzling to the deck as the laser bore its way into the thick metal. Erickson took a step back. Xenos scum indeed. For the Emperor. Although I do have Orcs and Tyranids. So I can't really say much, and I know someone who has to. Erickson took a step back. After a few minutes, he had cut through the seal. With a kick from Devin, the severed door toppled, landing with a heavy clang. They stepped through the breach into a cavernous space, careful to avoid the still glowing edges of the hatch. Thick spores swirled through the air, disturbed by the changing air currents. They fluttered and danced in the beams of their helmet lights. Tolkien studied her aspects. Suddenly, a blip appeared and tracked across the static haze screen before blinking out a couple of seconds later. I do have chaos. Chaos. No, join us. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull stone. No chaos, join us. She gave the sight of her device two perfunctory slaps, performing the rite of persuasive maintenance she'd been taught. But the signal did not reappear. I'm getting sensor ghosts, she voxed. For a moment it looked as though something was moving in here. Are you sure we're alone? Asked Evan, doing his best to steady his voice. It's just a false reading, Tolkien replies. This hulk's playing havoc with my senses. But behind the thermal glass window of her helm, she looked less than confident, he thought. The end of the wide cavern was buckled. Chunks of rock were fused to a deck plate and walls. Metal spars jutted from the far end of the room. They looked less like they had pierced the ship, more like they had somehow passed cleanly through the hull. Tolkien scanned the wreckage. Her aspect beeped and whistled wildly. It looks like two ships fused together here. Must have phased right through one another in the warp. She stepped through the opening. As she did so, she twisted and stumbled. Her body spun through the air as though falling upwards. There was a sickening thud as she struck metal. Tolkien! Tolkien! Yelled Devin. There was no answer over the Vox network. Nihilus carefully peered into the room. Twin pools of light projected by her helmet illuminated Tolkien lying on what, from Nihilus's perspective, appeared to be the ceiling. Her limbs were splayed out at awkward angles, and her neck bent sharply to one side. She wasn't moving. Looks like some sort of gravity realignment, she reported. Must be caused by the artificial gravity of the other ship. Climbing ropes, she ordered, detaching a grappling hook from her backpack. Devin watched the rest of the team clumsily abseil down, or rather up, into the hull, then step over the threshold. He felt his stomach turn as gravity suddenly reorientated, and he found himself upended. He swallowed and began descending the rope after his crewmates. When he reached the bottom, he saw the others crouched over the body of Tolkien. She's dead, proclaimed Erickson quietly, his eyes downcast. From then on, the team progressed in silence. Devin carried the mechanics aspects, although his knowledge of the device was limited. He never possessed Tolkien's affinity for machine spirits. Dev glanced at his chronometer. Only a couple of hours had passed since they'd entered the hulk, but it felt like so much longer. Suddenly, a beeping noise came from Talcud's auspex. Some kind of motion sensor. The screen displayed a moving blip like before, but now it was much closer, almost on top of them. Devon caught sight of movement in his peripheral vision. He turned and saw a darkness moving within the shadows of the branching pipeworks above. There was an insectile quality to its movements as it skittered over them. For a moment he lost sight of it, then it darted toward Nihilus at the rear of the party. Before she could turn and aim her last pistol, two of its 6 limbs darted out towards her. She screamed as its taloned hands dug into her shoulders and hauled her off her feet. She managed to loose a shot from her pistol before it was knocked from her grip, but the lasbot merely flashed harmlessly against the creature's chitinous hide. Devin swung his shotgun up and tensed his finger on the trigger, but all he could see was a pair of kicking legs in the darkness, and he dared not shoot for catching Nihilus in the blast. When Nihilus was gone, lost in the labyrinth of pipework, for an agonizingly long moment her screams continued to come across the Vox network before being replaced by static. Ooh, last page. And then we get the campaign bits. For a time, no one said anything. It was Ericsson who broke the silence. Throne! What in the 7 hells was that thing? Devin racked the slide of his shotgun and swept it across the room, searching for a target. I don't know, but we need to get out of here. They turned to head back the way they came. Devin saw a blur of limbs move amidst the forest of pipework and pulled the trigger. The blast resounded throughout the chamber. Sparks flashed where the shot struck metal. He fired again and again into the darkness, but there was no sign of his target. He advanced cautiously, weapon raised. Steam geysed from ruptured pipes. He was breathing heavily now. An icy chill ran down his spine. Whatever this thing was, it was hunting them. The pipes around him creaked and clanked. Suddenly he heard a wet tearing sound accompanied by a scream. Devin turned and saw Ericsson collapse onto the floor, clutching a ragged stump at his elbow. Blood splurted through his fingers, covering Devin's void suit. The creature was behind Ericsson. It was hideous to behold. Its body was covered in thick, dark blue carapace, and it had 6 limbs, 2 of which ended in large claws that were covered in blood. It stared right at him with a predatory gaze. Devin tried to shoot, but he was out of rounds. He tried to reload but fumbled the mechanism. The creature advanced towards him, its gaze unwavering. His fingers trembled, and the shotgun fell from his grip and hit the deck with a clatter. He tried to wipe blood from his visor with his helmet, but only succeeding in smearing it around. Half blind, he ran. Ericsson's screams followed him. He switched off his Vox receiver, but muffled screams still found their way through his helm. Or perhaps he only imagined they did. Blood poured in Devin's ears as he raced his way back down the corridor, almost drowning out the sound of his boots on the decking. Sweat bathed his skin, and the weight of the void suit dragged at his limbs. Where once it had felt like a protective cocoon, now it felt like a casket. He stumbled, his feet made clumsy by his heavy boots and his fear. Momentum carried him forward for a few more steps, but then he fell. He willed himself to get up, but fear had taken his legs, and they would not obey, like in some awful nightmare. Devin found himself in the grip of the creature's lower limbs. He writhed and struggled, but was unable to free himself from its iron grip. He trembled, and his stomach was knotted with terror. He reached out a talon claw and tore his helm free of his void suit. He tried to look away, but found he couldn't. As Devon gazed into the creature's eyes, his body relaxed and hung limply in his arms. His fear and revulsion slipped away. He saw the thing for what it truly was, and a smile spread across his face. It was beautiful. The creature's jaw descended, and something flashy darted from his mouth. Devon didn't resist, for he knew now that he was a friend. He felt his reassuring presence in his mind, his almost paternal love for him. He suddenly realized he had a purpose. He needed to take the creature away from here. With his new companion, he headed back to the ship. That was a nice little story. Is that what Gene Stealer gets off a space Hulk and take goats to a planet? Ooh, that was nice. Should read them more often, I think. But finally, what else do we get in this issue? We get the campaign. And in this campaign, they are going to pit Space Marines against the Leagues of Votann. So the Equestrive Kin have been launching raids into Imperial space and making off with valuable resources. Naughty boys. The Space Marines will not stand to see such impotence, and they move to strike down the interlopers. The Hephaestus system lies on the outskirts of Imperial space near the edge of the galactic core. Although sparsely populated, the region's dense asteroid fields are home to tenacious mining colonies who exploit rich deposits of metallic ores and minerals that are found there. In recent months, many of these colonies have been subjected to brutal raids by the neighbouring Leagues of Votann. Striking with overwhelming force, the raiders have made off with macrotons of vital material. The corporate militia of the mining guild have proven insufficient to fend off attacks by determined and well-equipped raiding parties. The astropathic calls for aid have been cast into the void. Fortunately, the regional governor, a Space Marine strike cruiser, fortunately for the regional governor, a Space Marine strike cruiser was passing close to the region, and its captain has diverted his forces to aid the beleaguered system and vanquish the Emperor's enemies. So I'm guessing they're going to tell us what we're going to be taking. Ooh, you have an STC for Captain Titus, and you is going to be having one tonight. It's not fair. Okay, so to play this sweeping raid scenario, we're going to take which one? We're going to need sweeping raid, which you will find under Core Missions found under G, Core Missions 5, and it's the one with the really weird layouts, like 16 inches and 6 in odd kind of, yeah, there you go, like that. It's like 16 inches then 6, and then 16 inches and 6, and then 3 inches and 9 inches, and yeah, it's a pain in the rear end. Responding to petitions for aid from the regional governor, the Space Marines have arrived in the system to punish the thieves and deter future raids through a shuttle force. As a matter of honour, they will not let anyone pilfer from Imperium realms. After days of lying in wait, like a patient predator, their strike cruiser receives news of a raid in progress and moves swiftly to intercept. That's if you're playing the Space Marine side. If you're playing the Kin side for the Leagues of Votann, the Kin have quite a relaxed attitude to notions of ownership. To them, the ability to hold on to resources is far more important than simply staking claim to them. And if a foe is unable to defend their property, it is not really theirs. They have no trouble with the distant Imperium's claims to the riches of the Hephaestus system, and just theirs just because they say so, and they have dispatched forces to claim the resources. So you're just using the full combat patrol. Excellent. So you're fighting with full rules. So you're getting the what's the Space Marine one called again? Priority target one, where you get to reroll hits and wounds. That rule, as well as all the enhancements and stratagems as well as for the Leagues of Votann, you are getting the grudge markers as well as all their enhancements and stratagems. So they help. They will help. So for a Space Marine victory, it is as usual. If you are playing the full campaign and this is not your last victory, then move on to the next one. In this case, it would be going through Article H Campaign 7. If it is your third victory, then you have just won your campaign victory and hurrah, you have won. Same again for the Leagues of Votann. If it's your first or second, then you play your next match. And if it's your third, then hurrah, you have won. However, your next match, if you are Leagues of Votann, is against the Tyranid. And this is a display of might. To play this scenario, you are going to be finding it again under Core Mission 6. Relatively simple one, this one, where it's 14 inches from the centre, so just inside each deployment zone, and then 8 inches up from the centre for the two actual no man's land ones. And then you will play through that scenario with the full Tyranid and full Leagues of Votann combat patrols. The kin of the Leagues of Votann and the Tyranid clash over a world rich in natural resources that are essential to the survival of both species. Each must attempt to drive the other off the world. The Hernkin scouts of the Leagues of Votann have discovered a verdant world of expansive forests, deep oceans and towering mountains. Not only is the world plentiful with water and oxygen, valuable resources for a largely void-based civilization, but initial scans show deep deposits of valuable metal beneath the surface of the planet. This newly discovered planet was christened Kibola by the League. The League were quick to establish a claim on the world, but as any kin knows, what is yours is only yours for as long as you can hold on to it. Military outposts were established across Kibola's surface as a display of might to deter enemies and to protect the colonists. However, a planet so abundant in life soon attracted the attention of the hive mind, and alien creatures made planetfall by the thousands, seeking to destroy the kin's defences and seize the world for themselves. If the kin want to keep the world, they will have to fight for it. Very nice. So you are using the full Tyranid detachment, so you're getting Shadow in the Warp to cause what's it called? Battle Shock. As well as, again, the enhancements and the oath markers and the enhancements for the Leagues of Votann. If either side is lucky enough to win, then they move on to their next fight, unless it's their third victory and you're playing the campaign, in which case, hurrah, congratulations, you have just won the campaign for your side. Very easy, really, very, very easy. Quite simple. Quite simple. If Votann protect the world is theirs to plunder. If the Tyranids win the world, it's theirs to plunder. Quite simple. So what's next week? Next week is the 5 Acolyte hybrids. Now these have multiple arms and multiple weapons, and he's got a great big chainsaw. He's got a circular saw blade thing there. And after that, in issue 64 and 65, is a group of 10 Neophyte hybrids. Now they're going to be the more standard guys, I think. So just the auto guns or las guns. Maybe one or two guys with a heavier weapon. No, I don't know if they're going to be too similar. I think they're going to be slightly more offensive, whereas they're going to have more the hold your objective stuff. But that's the next 3 issues, at least 63 being the 5 models next week, which looks to be fun. More models to build. Yay. I do have the Megas. She's in the box. Waiting. Find out if anyone's going to be able to claim her. As well as all them as well. Oh, I can't remember what we're getting. I know we're getting some more stuff soon. I think it might be paints after those, and then it's pretty much models. No, we do not get Tau in this magazine, Graham. No Tau. There is with the Genestealer Cults is gonna come the Imperial Guard, and then after both of those is World Eaters. So World Eaters is last, which gives me a chance to get all these finished before the rest of the World Eaters turn up. Because that's going to be a Lord and Juggernaut, a Forge Fiend, 20 Khorne Berserkers and 10 Jackals. So that'll give me 30 Khorne Berserkers, 10 Jackals, 5 Terminators, a Hellbrute, a Forge Fiend, an Angron Proxy, a Lord Executioner, a Lord Executioner on Juggernaut, or Lord Invocatus. And then I think I need to bash up 2 more. I think it's 2 more Lord Executioners I need to bash up. That's going to be fun and interesting to figure out how I'm going to do that bloody thing. But yeah, I do need to kit bash 2 more of those. So we'll see how that's going to go. And that'll be my 2,000 point World Eater army as opposed to a World Eater combat patrol. I know, I work weird. I don't do it quite the way they want me to. But that was issue 62? 62? Yeah, that was issue 62. A lot of reading in this magazine, and a lot of getting all the collection out, doing little bits of painting, putting all the collection away. That's pretty much what that one was. Getting a few models out, doing a little bit, putting them away. Not bad though, to make sure that you just getting some painting done. Definitely a good idea just to get some painting done. If you have a look through, realise what you need to get out, get it all out, and go right that bit. Do it as a batch paint, do it as a workload, then it'll prepare you more for when you're building up. Like Rebecca, who wishes to do a either Tau or Guard Force, both of which can be extremely infantry heavy. So batch painting is something you need to do with them. Orcs are the same. Tyranids, definitely so if you're running hordes. You're running lots and lots of gaunts, you're doing lots and lots of batch painting. Lots of it. Lots of it. I mean, running 60 termagants, not fun. Not fun. Movement takes forever. Shooting takes forever. Everything takes forever. Except for your player's turn. Because you just shoot 1 unit of termagants off the board and then that's it, done. But yes, thank you everybody for coming to see this one. I know I was late today. I am sorry. Afflictions, the hour what they are. I look forward hopefully to seeing anyone who's joining tomorrow night with the Magical World of Sparkles and Oak, as we've started work on the next floor, so whether or not I'm going to do the back or start on models, I don't know. I'll let Sparkles decide that tomorrow, however she's feeling and however she wants me to do it. So I've still got the back wall, which is the corrugated card, and I've still got about 6 models to put up there, so I've got them to paint as well. So I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow night. Where's it gone? There it is. So in the meantime, thank you very much, and I will see you all later. Please drive safe.